y'all, I've been out in the garden this morning picking me some fresh basil. You know, there's nothing like the summertime when we have all these great vegetables coming in down here in the South. So today, y'all, I'm adding some green to my cuisine with my hearty garden full of goodness lasagna and a garden treat, chicken and asparagus crepes, y'all. You'll crave my delicious chocolate chip zucchini bread. And to wash it all down, a refreshing watermelon cooler. So get out your gardening tools, because today it's all about garden delights. Now, the first recipe that I want to share with y'all today is straight from the garden, and I'm going to do a garden full of goodness lasagna. There's not going to be any meat in here, and I'm going to use 2 medium-sized zucchinis, and I'm just going to cut those down the center and cut them just like this, like half moons. I'm using like 1 medium onion, half of a red bell pepper, half of a green, yielding us about a cup. I'm gonna throw in like a cup of fresh mushrooms and about a cup of carrots. And I think I probably cut up about 2 medium yellow squash. So there's no fat going in our pot. You know, I get a lot of kidding because I cook with so much butter and sugar and those kind of ingredients that we love down in the South. You know, it's like I told Oprah. You know, I said, honey, I'm your cook, not your doctor. All right, now I'm gonna dice up a couple of cloves of fresh garlic. All right, so we've got our vegetables going. I'm gonna cover them with a little bit of water. Now, I'm not gonna need to put much because a lot of these vegetables that we have in here have naturally just a lot of water in them. So we don't wanna drown them. And look at that. Look at all those beautiful colors we've got going on. It looks just delicious. And I'm gonna let them cook for a few minutes while I step over here and make that nice cheesy filling that we're gonna use when we put our lasagna together. Now, I've got 1/2 of an 8-ounce bar of cream cheese that I've softened, and I'm gonna measure out about 3/4 of a cup of cottage cheese. Now, if you really wanna lighten the dish up, you can use a light cottage cheese. All right, so I'm just gonna mix those 2 things together. And then I have 1 egg up here. I'm gonna give it a little beat, and I'm gonna add it to our cream cheese and to our cottage cheese. And this is gonna make this cheese filling just nice and creamy and give it some body. All right, I'm gonna switch from my spatula to my wooden spoon. So just that quickly, our filling is ready. It's gonna be very, very good. All right, let's come back over here and check on our vegetables now. Those look great. They've gotten nice and soft. Now, I'm just gonna take these vegetables and I'm gonna pour them over into my colander. All right, so in the colander they go. I'm gonna give them a shake to get that water off of them. Just like that, and then back into the pot they go. I've left my eye on because I want that water to kind of evaporate before I start adding all my tomato goodness to the pot. You can hear that water cooking off of them. All right. Now I'm gonna add a little salt, a little fresh ground pepper. This is beautiful. Now I'm gonna add my 2 cloves of garlic, because we can't have lasagna without some good garlic flavor going on in there. All right, now let's bring in that wonderful fresh basil that I was out in the garden collecting. Smells so fabulous. Now I'm gonna tear off about 1/4 of a cup, you know, making sure I don't throw the stems in the pot. Okay, now we're gonna come over here and add that tomato goodness that I was talking about. You know, if you've got fresh tomatoes, you can certainly use those, but I'm just gonna use a canned diced tomato today. I have a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes, and we really only need half of that, but I didn't have a small can in my pantry this morning, so half of that goes in the pot. And now to that, I'm gonna add a small can of tomato sauce. And look at the look that it's taking on now, y'all. Isn't that just beautiful? All right, now I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna take a small can of tomato paste and I'm gonna use about half of that. So in the pot, look, even Ladybird, she is saying, bring me some vegetables. We're gonna let that simmer for about 20 minutes. And when we come back, I'm gonna show you how I put this great vegetable lasagna together. Coming up next, it's chicken and asparagus crepes, y'all. And later, chocolate chip zucchini bread and a refreshing watermelon cooler. I so hope y'all are enjoying the show. And if you do, be sure to click like, subscribe, and the notification bell so you'll never miss a video. And we'll be right back after the break. Hey y'all, welcome back. In case you were late joining us today, I've made us up a wonderful sauce for our veggie lasagna, and I've started layering it in my pan, and I'm just gonna continue layering those until it's the way I like it. Now, I've got shredded mozzarella, sliced provolone, my cottage cheese and egg mixture, and the greatest new things that the grocery store is now bringing to us is these wonderful no-cook pasta strips for lasagna. So I'm just gonna continue to layer this. I'm gonna come in here with another layer of our vegetables. And I've used mushrooms, yellow squash, zucchini squash, carrots, onions, bell peppers, and it's so good. More cheese here. All right. So in with our pasta, and we're just gonna lay that across just like that. Then a little bit of my cottage cheese. I'm gonna just dot that layer with that. All right. And I'm gonna top it with just a wee little bit of sauce. There we go. A little bit more grated cheese. And then I'm gonna add a few layers of that wonderful provolone cheese that's so zesty and tart. So I'm going to just dribble a little bit more vegetables on top of that. So in the oven, this goes at 350 degrees for about 35 minutes. So there we go, that's all settled. Now let's come on down here to our next dish. I'm making some savory chicken and asparagus crepes. Now I'm gonna start with the crepes, y'all. I've got 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour in my bowl and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt that I've mixed up. And over here our wet ingredients, which is 1 1/4 cup of milk, 1 whole egg, and 1 egg yolk. And I have 1 tablespoon of melted butter. We're just gonna give this a little beat and add it to our dry ingredients. Y'all, one of the treats when I went to Europe was the crepes in Paris. The little crepe stands are like hamburger stands here in America. Everywhere you turn, you could buy a crepe, and they were so good. I had a crepe with butter on it and then squeezed fresh lemon juice on it, and it was so incredibly good. And I almost told her to hold the lemon juice because that just didn't make sense to me, but it was so good. Now I'm gonna let our batter rest for just a minute. Let's move on to getting the vegetables ready that we're gonna serve inside these crepes. And I'm using fresh asparagus. I've separated the tough part of the asparagus. So in the water that goes, I've got my pot boiling that I've added some salt to. I'm just gonna kind of move that around using my tongs for not more than like 10 or 15 seconds. And now I'm just gonna remove my asparagus, put it into my ice water bath so that it'll stop the cooking of this asparagus because I don't want it mushy. I want it kind of crispy, tender to the teeth. Okay, we've chilled that. I'm gonna throw it into our colander, move that bowl out of our way. And let's come over here and take a look at our batter. It looks good. And I'm gonna put a couple of tablespoons of batter into my nonstick pan, and we're gonna cook these between medium and medium high. But you can see the way I'm twisting my pan around to cover the bottom of that. There we go. We have a nice crepe on the way. Now I'm gonna take me an offset spatula and just flip that crepe. And you can see how quickly and beautifully that cooked. I'm gonna slide that off onto our crepe pan. So our crepes are ready. And y'all, for the filling of this, I literally went to my pantry and my refrigerator. I found some roasted chicken that I had left over last night from dinner. I grabbed me a can of cream of mushroom soup, a few onions, a little wine or sherry, tossed that in there along with some cheese, and I just cooked it back here on the pan. And I came up with this wonderful creamy chicken center for our crepes. Now I'm gonna take our crepe and I'm just gonna spread out a little line of our chicken. Oh, and it's good. I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna take our asparagus, and I think I'm gonna use like 4. All right, and I'm just gonna fold that together, and seam side down, I'm gonna put that into my pan. I've got a grated Swiss that I'm gonna put on top of my crepes. So I'm gonna slip this in the oven, y'all, 350 for about 10 minutes. We've still got that lasagna, don't forget about that. And when we come back, I'm gonna be making a chocolate chip zucchini bread. And later, a refreshing watermelon cooler, y'all. I hope y'all are enjoying the show. And I wanna hear from you. Tell me what recipes or videos you'd like to see me make by just leaving a short comment below. Now, let's get back to the show, y'all. Hey, y'all, it's a good thing you got back when you did, because I was fixing to get started without you. Look at this. All those flavors from my garden taste so good with that pasta and the cheese, and the lasagna is out of this world, y'all. Well, come on down here. I want to share with y'all a recipe, and it's called chocolate chip zucchini bread. I'm gonna start with my dry ingredients down here. I've measured up 3 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. All right, now for our dry spices, I'm gonna use a half a teaspoon of cinnamon and a half a teaspoon of nutmeg. And we're just gonna sift that through, making sure we've gotten all of our clumps out of our flour or our spices. All right, now let's come down here and let's eyeball the other ingredients we're gonna need to put our bread together. I've beaten 3 eggs until they're light and fluffy. Now to those eggs, I'm gonna add 2 cups of sugar. So 2 cups of white sugar into our eggs. We're gonna beat that And then we're gonna add 1 cup of vegetable oil. And that's gonna give this bread the most wonderful, moist texture. There we go. All right, now you'll see over here, I've got my grated zucchini, and we're just gonna grate our zucchini skin and all. And I've got about 2 cups. I've got 1 tablespoon of orange zest. And I'm just gonna throw this in all of our wet ingredients. And I'm gonna add a teaspoon or 2 of vanilla extract. You know, as much flavoring as you like. I'm gonna stir in my cup of chocolate chips. A cup of pecans. Let's give all this a quick little stir. And at this point, we no longer even need the mixer. All this can be done by hand. We're just gonna stir this together. And I've got 2 5x9 loaf pans over here. We're gonna bring our batter down there and we're gonna spray our pans so that our bread won't stick. We want our loaves to come out nice and easy. Now, if you don't have any spray, you can always grease them, dust them with a little flour, and that'll help those breads come out nicely when they're done. Okay, let's give all this a quick little stir. There we go. Now, I'm gonna make sure I can divide this as evenly as possible. So I'm gonna use one of my little measuring cups. Those look perfectly even. Now we're gonna put this in the oven. My oven has preheated to 350 degrees. We're gonna bake this for about 50 minutes. So let's put in our bread and take out our crepes at the same time. Look at those crepes, y'all. Don't those look good? All right. Come on, you bad zucchini bread, you. Get in that oven. And why don't we just dig in and taste a crepe right now? This is just perfect for a Saturday or Sunday brunch dish. The great part of crepes is you can make them savory or sweet. You know, we got the chicken mixture in there and the asparagus and cheese on top. So good, y'all. Coming up next, a refreshing watermelon cooler. I so hope y'all are enjoying the show. And if you do, be sure to click like, subscribe, and the notification bell so you'll never miss a video. And we'll be right back after the break. Hey, y'all, welcome back. I've taken our chocolate chip zucchini bread out of the oven. I've got it cooling down there. And then I'm working on that wonderful watermelon cooler. I'm gonna use the skin of 1 whole lemon. And over here, I've got our watermelon. Now, I'm using 4 cups of watermelon. And I'm using the part, you know, that I've pulled the seeds out of. And I have the zest of 1 lemon that I'm throwing in. Now, that's in the pureer. All right, the next ingredient I'm gonna add is 1 cup of lemon sorbet. Now I'm gonna add about 1.5 cups of ice cold water. In fact, I had a few chips in my water. We're just gonna come back, whip that together. Now, all we're gonna do at this point is put this in the refrigerator and let it get ice cold. In fact, I have a pitcher ready for us in here. And look how good and refreshing this looks. Yum, it's just gonna be delicious with all the things that I've made today, especially that zucchini bread. Now I'm just gonna give that a little stir. And I'm gonna pour it over my glass of ice. And this just looks fabulous. I think I'm gonna just split me a little piece of watermelon and just kind of hook onto that glass. All right, come on over here and look at our zucchini bread, our chocolate chip zucchini bread. Let's just tap this. Look at there. We sprayed it and it just came out perfectly beautiful. Let's get us a little slice. Now this zucchini bread, there I go swallowing again. This looks so good and smells so good. Now I don't know about y'all, but you know, I love that cream cheese on it. So I'm gonna put just a wee little bit of cream cheese on mine. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The pecans and the chocolate chips together, along with my vegetables, it's so good. My goodness. Hey y'all, it's Paula Deen. Now, if y'all enjoyed this week's full episode Friday, be sure to like it and click the subscribe button as well as the notification bell to be alerted when I post a video. Love and best dishes, friends.